Good evening, and thank you. It's wonderful to see so many committed intellectuals in the audience. You know, I have to say I'm actually a bit embarrassed. After 10 years in the green building industry, I feel that we've barely made a dent. We've only scratched the surface. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about 3 issues that we're facing in our industry, and 3 issues in our buildings that are actually harming us. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about energy security actually, and water strategy. Now in health, my question to you is, do our buildings actually promote positive health? Well, what do you think? And why should we be interested in buildings that promote positive health? Well, one of the main reasons is we actually spend 90% of our time indoors. And during the hot summer months, as we're actually approaching, we're going to be spending about 99% of our time indoors. So it's very important what is coming from the indoors, what's actually in the air in there. And in the air in there, we're actually finding secondhand smoke, mold, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, VOCs, pesticides, and PM10. These are particles in the air. Also, we're finding a bit of formaldehyde, which is kind of a nice additive. Now, why is this important? Well, the pollution that we're seeing indoors is actually on an order of 2 to 5 times higher than what we're seeing outside. And sometimes it's hundreds. Okay? This is dangerous. Right? I'm going to show you a picture here. This is the fresh air intake for a building. I'm not going to say where it is. Wouldn't be the right thing to do. Okay? Doesn't look so healthy, does it? My question, have you heard of all the health risks in the UAE, indoor air pollution is actually number 2. So it's important for everybody in here, unless you're living outside like those unfortunate that what we just saw. By the way, wonderful presentation on that. Really appreciate that. But according to the World Health Organization, pneumonia in children is rising, lung cancer is rising, chronic respiratory disease, and this is all because of indoor air pollution. So, another very interesting photo. This is taken from another fresh air intake for a school. Okay? I'm not saying it's here, somewhere in the region. Now, this is coming from 5 meters of fresh air intake. This is the cleaning out during the operational phase. Okay? This is supplying fresh air to a classroom. According to the Carnegie Mellon Center for the Building Performance, buildings that are not certified properly during operations, 10 times increase in the flu virus, 20% increase in allergies, and 4 times increase in bronchial asthma. Bronchial asthma is actually the 3rd leading cause of hospitalization amongst children. And this doesn't just impact the child's health today, but also impacts their development, and potentially the development of whichever nation they're part of. Now, unfortunately, that's not the only issue that we're going to talk about tonight with buildings. Second one is energy. And we'll talk about the security and strategic security of energy. Okay? So a hidden risk. Other, have you heard? In Saudi Arabia, that bastion of oil actually consumes 1/4 of all the oil that it produces domestically. Right? That means for every 3 barrels of oil that it exports, 1 oil barrel is consumed domestically. This is a lot. And this is rising at 10% per annum. So, what does this mean? If there's less oil to be exported, it means there's less money available for social programs. And in today's world, social programs are very important. So, we'll do just a quick comparison here between a company like Germany, all right, and Saudi Arabia. Now, the population of Germany is about 3 times the size of Saudi Arabia. Economy about 5 times the size, and yet Saudi Arabia actually consumes more oil than Germany. Just a different sort of balance that we're seeing here. And unfortunately, that's not just for our neighbor to the west. Domestically, in the UAE, in fact in Abu Dhabi, this is information publicly available. It's set to double in 10 years, the consumption of energy. And 72% of that comes from buildings. The electricity that is consumed, 72% is building related. So, I wish that was all we were here to talk about tonight, were those two issues. The third is that buildings are actually harming us in water as well, in water security. Now, I'll ask you another rhetorical question. Where does our water come from? I don't know, does it come from here? I mean, we're all enjoying this lovely weather at the moment, right? We do live in a desert, okay? And deserts are hot and dry. So we're not actually getting our water from the desert. We're getting some of it from there. So where does our water actually come from? Coming from desal. Now, desal is the most expensive and energy-intensive way of extracting water. In fact, we like to measure water coming from desal, not in volume produced, but actually in energy that it takes to produce it. And over the millions of years that Mother Nature has deposited the water globally, okay? In this country, we have 40 years water supply left for the future in the groundwater, also publicly available information. And unfortunately, our neighbors have to do with a lot less. So, we spend domestically 12 billion dirhams per year on water production. Okay? We consume about 500 liters of water per day per person. Think about that. That's about 7 bathtubs worth of water per day per person. Okay? And we're 82% above the international average. We're number 1. Okay? And unfortunately, this is set to double also in 10 years. But hey, we're making progress. We are actually making progress. And the government of Abu Dhabi is doing wonderful, wonderful measures. They're taking wonderful measures and instituting wonderful programs in order to address this. They started addressing it many years ago. And the future is looking better. Okay? The question is it enough? Now, Abu Dhabi leads the region, once again, in these 3 key areas. Okay? There are current initiatives. The Abu Dhabi Energy Code, wonderful initiative. The Estidama rating system, this is for buildings, for new buildings. And the wonderful research that's being taken care of by our partners over there at Masdar Institute. There's several others underway as well. Okay? But this is only for Abu Dhabi. I'm talking about the region here. Abu Dhabi's leading, but the region as a whole isn't even following. They're not there yet. And what we do have is only focused on new buildings. It's not focused on the operations of buildings. Which sounds great. You know, every new shiny building that gets built, it is brought up to a wonderful code. And we are setting the bar high. The people at the Urban Planning Council are doing a wonderful job here. But is it enough? 85% of the buildings that are currently here, that are in existence today, were built over 5 to 10 years ago. Okay? Now, these buildings were built to older standards. Not quite as efficient. They have outdated technology, and typically they're not operated properly. Hence the picture that you saw earlier with all the dust and contamination in the school. But it's in these 85% that if we want to make any impact on the trajectories that we were looking at earlier, this is where we will actually have a real impact. It's by focusing on the operations of buildings. And there are solutions. You know, there is still time. We just need to act. We need to start now. So action will be a blend of education, innovation, and policy. Okay? It'll be a combination of these three, because we need to do all of them in order to be effective. First thing we would do is have a Center for the Built Environment locally, which is focused on the local issues that we have in the GCC. This will be similar to what we have in Carnegie, Mellon University, in Berkeley, and the BRE. Okay? This is focusing on indoor air quality, energy, water, acoustics, energy, once again, and occupant comfort for people here in the GCC. Second, will be some effective way of communicating to the population. Who here lives in Abu Dhabi? Okay, good amount. Who here has seen on their energy and water bills that there's something similar to this recently? Right, and what it's trying to do, it's educating the consumers of energy and water of how much they're actually consuming and what are the costs to the government, the ultimate producers of water and energy, to produce that energy that goes into your villa, your apartment. With this information, we're able to affect change. Remember, whatever you measure, you have the opportunity to manage. So this is the second point. The third point is to implement, similar to what we did for new buildings, Estadama new buildings, some sort of rating system that deals with operations, okay? Know your building. So that way, when you're buying or selling, trying to figure out where you want to live, where to work, and where to send your children to school, you will understand a little bit about that building. It's similar to looking on the back of a nutrition container when you're buying some food. I find it a bit funny, you know, when you purchase a candy bar that's cost maybe 1 dirham, which is consumed in maybe 30 seconds. Actually, I'm a bit faster than that. I love chocolate. But you don't have the data on multi-million-dollar buildings in which you're spending 90% of your time. Why is that? Why don't you know the energy, water, and more importantly, indoor air characteristics of these buildings? It's very important. Not that many places in the world do. Okay? Do something like this. Okay, nice candy bar. That's the other half, the one I saved for the photo. And then on the left, you have the nutrition facts, obviously. So what we envision is something along these lines for operations. Okay, so you understand how your building actually works. So we can decide to take action, or we can decide not to take action. The choice is ours. But if we decide not to, we can expect higher water insecurity, okay? Higher infrastructure costs for power plants, for desal, less oil revenue going to social programs, healthcare costs going up, not just for financially, but also for the individual as well, right? The human cost, and individuals and the country, the region, potentially performing below what they can achieve. Okay? Now, our buildings, you know, they do influence our health. They influence our energy and our water security. So I implore you, there's many key decision makers in this room. I know that. Think big, take action, and start today. And let's all work to scratch a bit deeper than the surface, okay, and to make a real impact. Let's do it for us. Let's also do it for them. Thank you.